A Bolian tries to impress a Dabo girl by wearing a toupee. Sometimes with Betazoid beasts, you can actually sense their thoughts. And a weird alien lady teaches Jake about magnums. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the 7th Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Oh, yes, magnums. Very good.
That it was Vale Magnums or something.
Ferrignum Magnums or something.
Foramen Magnums. Anyway, Ryan T. Husk, and we are doing a review of Deep Space Nine Season 4, The Muse, directed by David Livingston, story by Renee Echevarria, and Majel Barrett Roddenbery, written by Echevarria. How are you today, Cirroc?
I'm doing well. Doing good.
I didn't realize
this episode,
the Betazoid babies comment would make you laugh so hard. Huh?
Yeah, no, you got me. You got me. You actually started off with your first quiz question of the day, or trivioid of the day. Was my first note, which was a Bolian tries, which was the first note of the first line of the episode, right? A Bolian tries to impress a Dabo girl by wearing a toupee. I thought that was a funny, clever line that caught my attention as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of wanted to just say all three Jake Sisko lines because he's there's always the power of threes. They always put things in threes. So it would have also been cool to just do all three Jake Sisko lines. But I had to go with that other joke.
It didn't even cross my mind until you said it. I wrote it down because I was like, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
The focal point for the bioelectric field and the Ferengi. Magnum. Yeah.
Plus, I
couldn't understand what she was saying, so you probably were watching with the subtitles, so you were able to read it. I had to rewind it a few times just so I could hear it.
Yeah, just to make sure. Is that we know, or are they just making something up? Who knows? Maybe it's a real thing. We've got some doctors on our team, so we could ask them coming up. There's so much good stuff in this episode. There's so much fun stuff to talk about. But before we do, I want to give a shout out to our friend Eve England out in Wales. She's awesome. We love her, and we hope you feel better soon, Eve. We'll see you back in the free for alls very soon. Right, Eve's best. She's the coolest person.
Get well soon. We'd love you.
And the other one is our friend, Mr. Michael Kenyon Rosenberg, who is one of the main cogs in Virtual TrekCon, as well as my co-host on Falling Tower. And he is still suffering from kidney kidney disease. Same situation as our good friend, Mr. Aaron Eisenberg, doing the exact same dialysis that Aaron was, peritoneal dialysis. And he has been on the waiting list for a donation. Now, they say that they told him it was going to be about 3 to 5 years. He's currently on the 6th year. So it's time to get this man a kidney. We will include the links in the description box below. Please help him out. He's a great dude. We love him. He's extremely talented, and we don't want to lose somebody that amazing in our lives. So shout out to Michael Kenyon Rosenberg. Okay.
Absolutely.
We may have a little bit of audio difficulties. I don't know if those were kicking in then strong, but just if anybody's listening out there that wonders, like, if we have like a delay in what we say, it's because there's a little audio weirdness going on today because of the rain in LA.
Yeah, a little bit of audio weirdness, but definitely prayers go out to Michael Kenyon Rosenberg that he gets his kidney. He's been waiting long enough, and such a good guy.
Right on cue, your audio went out. I think you said prayers go out to Michael Kenyon Rosenberg, right?
Yeah,
I was reading lips.
I did, and that's really the point. Yep, we wish him the best, and he's been waiting long enough.
Your audio went out a little bit right there too.
No.
I don't know what to say about that. I guess just grab the cord that's in there and just wiggle it just a little bit. See if that helps.
How are we doing with that? I could go without the cord and just. No.
Wait. Now you're back.
How about now?
Definitely not now. I definitely don't hear you now. Well, let's keep going while we play with this and figure that out. It's because it's raining today in LA, and LA never gets rain, so everything falls apart. Anyway,
yeah, it's crazy too because we've been having technical difficulties with Spectrum in our area with the Wi-Fi in this whole area.
Is a Wi-Fi thing? Let me also try.
Can you hear it? Yeah.
On my end. Hang on a second.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try it like this. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great now. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's try it this way. A little while. We'll do jiggling on both of our sides. People are like, can you guys just talk about Star Trek? We don't care who does it. One of you talk about Star Trek. Okay. So it opens up on Jake Sisko saying his 3 lines that are so cool. And the first thing I always ask you is, do you remember that? Do you remember opening up the script and seeing that you basically get 2 Jake Sisko episodes in a row here?
Yeah, I do remember this episode, not so much for the first 3 lines that we're talking about, but for the original version of the script that I got when I first read it. Mm-hmm. It had this woman Onaya, who's a very, really great actress in this episode. I think she does a fantastic job. But it originally was written that Jake, this whole thing would be more in the bed and less in the living room writing down on paper, but more in the bedroom. So that was my first takeaway when I first read the script. Like, oh, okay, this is my first love scene. And I was a little bit nervous about, meeting this adult woman and hopping in the bed with her.
Yeah, very adult woman.
Yeah.
Older.
Yeah. Older. And I mean, and like I said, I was a little bit, anxious about having to do this love scene, which they eventually rewrote and made it more of this kind of what we saw here, kind of implied sexuality, mm-hmm. but more like this energy, sexual energy.
What she was sucking was the energy at this point.
Right.
That's how they changed it. Do you remember?
Yeah, very good, right?
It still feels like if I were, whatever you were, 17, 18 years old, I would still feel pretty awkward with these kind of scenes. It feels like these were major hurdles you kind of had to go through, where you're like, okay, I knew this day would come and it's going to be uncomfortable, it's going to be awkward. But I mean, because even this kind of scene feels like it would be awkward for an 18-year-old. Like, I know I wouldn't be comfortable with it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit, it was very intimate. And there were moments, for example, when she's almost nibbling on my ears and once
I noticed that, yeah.
one close up, and when somebody gets that close to you, obviously she was an older woman, nothing about how attractive she is, but just that she's an older woman. And when you're younger and you're hooking up with an older person like that, your nerves are high, because you're really doing something for the first time where they have more experience at. But she was very gentle with me and very gracious, and it never really crossed any lines. So it was appropriate as far as the acting was concerned.
Yeah. I mean, she's obviously a very professional actor that understood the situation. I did want to look her up real quick, just because she had I know why they chose her, because she had a very interesting look. Those eyes were very interesting and
well, her name is Meg Foster, I believe.
Right. Exactly.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, she is also the lead in the movie They Live.
No way.
Yeah, with Roddy
Piper?
Yeah, because she has these very unforgettable eyes.
You're right.
If I'm not mistaken.
You are right. Holly. Yep.
Yes. So that is the woman that played the lead in They Live, opposite Roddy Piper. And so that was the other thing that was kind of intimidating about her, because she is just in her natural self, very intimidating person, right? She has these piercing eyes and she has this very stoic look about her. So it's elegant, but it's also like stops you in your tracks. It could freeze you if she wants to. So they actually did a wonderful job casting, because she has this mysterious kind of vibe that she oozes when she walks into the room.
Wow, that is so cool. I had no idea. That's the one where the line comes from, which is everybody knows and loves it. I came here to kick some ass and chew some bubble gum, and I'm all out of bubble gum.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's cool. Now, another thing that's really interesting to know, and shout out to one of our resident doctors, Marie Segal, for pointing this out. But the fellow that played Luoxana Troy's wife is Michael Ansara. He also played Kang in the previous episodes of Deep Space Nine, the Klingon. Remember the episode where there were 3 Klingons, Kang, Kor, and Koloth?
Mm-hmm.
So he was Kang, and he also reprises that role later on in Voyager as well.
Well, he did seem very familiar to me when I saw him. There was something familiar about him. I didn't put him on Kang, but I did say, where have I seen this guy before? I thought maybe we had seen him with Luoxana at some point, so I wasn't sure where. But I know that he looked familiar. Definitely another guy who had, I thought in the role that he played, he was very commanding about it. He was convincing about, like, you have to convince me. So I enjoyed his performance as well.
Yeah, he was also Kang in the original series, 1968, as well. So this is a very well-versed actor. Wow. Here's my issue with this episode. I'm just going to get right into it, because you kind of mentioned the actor, talking about his performance. I felt like it almost seemed like both storylines needed more time. Like almost like each storyline should have just been an A plot of one episode and an A plot of another episode, because that actor, Exhibit A, he was a good actor and he played it well, but he had 2 or 3 scenes only, and it almost felt like a waste of an interesting storyline. And I felt like each one of the storylines deserved more airtime. Otherwise, they felt a little bit rushed to me. And like, I wanted to kind of just know more. You know what I mean? I don't know if you got that too.
I can say that I did feel that what you're talking about, that there was a little bit of a non-symmetry between the 2 storylines that didn't really fit together well, right? Usually the B storyline in some way informs the A storyline or has a complement to it. I didn't really feel the complement in this particular one. I thought that they were very specifically separate issues. One being about a woman's role in these cultural differences between alien races and children, which could be like a whole Roe versus Wade type of argument,
right?
About who gets parental rights and who gets to raise a child, and what the Federation's stance is on that, whether they, how do they intervene in this particular matter, who has, who's right and who's wrong, or who has standing and who doesn't. That would have been a good thing to have play out, right? Because you could have had this kind of legal and moral and argument about who's entitled to raise a child, and why a father needs to raise a boy and a woman needs to raise a girl. And you can have all these very specific arguments that kind of test our belief systems in these kinds of ways, right? Or the patriarchal hierarchy that we've been experiencing throughout our lives.
Right. And they dropped that in, and then that was it. It was just like that one mention. And it kind of made me think like, oh, this is an interesting thing that they can explore a little bit more. Because Star Trek's really good at exploring these kinds of things. But instead, they had such limited time. They just quickly moved on to the solution. And then suddenly Odo and Lwaxana were in love. And it was just all so fast when it felt like that should be an entire episode of its own. And then each one of these storylines just has like the little B plot of, Quark is doing something silly with Rom or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. And that's why I felt like there was a little bit of a slowness there. There were other elements that, as you're talking now, that I felt like maybe the writers could have delved into. One is the specific genetic makeup of a betazoid. And betazoids could potentially, for example, and this is me coming off the top of my head, be influenced by two factors when they have a child. One, by the person who actually is doing the conceiving, but the second factor could be who the betazoid host loves. And so in the betazoid way, could have been that she believes there's two fathers to this child, right? She loves Odo and she believes him to be, she loves him, so she wants him to be the father. And they could have argued even a kind of biological argument on why she felt entitled to, do whatever she was doing. There were so many outs in this way. And that way, like you say, to your credit, expanding on this idea would have really been kind of them tackling on parental rights and women's rights in a really heavier handed way.
Right. Plus, they were introducing two new alien species. Like there's this Anaya lady that we've never seen or heard of her species. And there was Lwaxana's husband, and we've never heard of them. So if one villain or whatever is a Klingon, another villain is a Ferengi, we don't need backstory. We get it. We know what they are. But with these two new aliens, I wanted to know more about what her story is. I wanted to know more about what this dude's story is, Tavnian. Anyway, it was just, that's why I felt like the stories didn't have, and that's the hardest thing I feel like about TV writing, is they have such a short amount of time to tell a story. And especially with love stories are the toughest because you have to convince us that people like meet, fall in love, and fall out of love or whatever, all in this short amount of time. That's just got to be the hardest thing,
Yeah, but I do want to say several things that I do like about this episode. We've been kind of a little bit hard on it. I want to focus on the positive things. For me, one of the things that I enjoy was Jake standing up kind of, even though under these circumstances and under these pretenses, he still took a stance to make a direction in his life that is separate from his dad's supervision, right? Now, it turned out to be the wrong move, and it wasn't the greatest results for him, unless you look at the byproduct, which is this manuscript that he eventually wrote.
I think it was a good, the whole thing ended well because now Jake has kind of unlocked this key. He's unlocked whatever it was, and now it's going to help him be a better writer, it seems.
Yes. So that's one aspect of it. Just I like that he kind of told his dad, "Hey, why don't you go with Cassidy and you guys enjoy it together, and I'm going to try to find myself and my own purpose in life." And that's really what he's in search of, right? Is kind of his own purpose and his self, unlocking his own potential, essentially. So I like that is what's driving him, is the desire to unearth what he believes is inside of him.
Also, you did mention Cassidy. She was one of our non-appearance mentions today.
Yep. Yes, she was.
You catch
didn't
the
write
others.
that down. Did I catch the others?
There were two others. One is going to be pretty tough. So one was obviously First Minister Shakar, because he gets all these names all of a sudden. But the other one was Kestra. Kestra was Deanna Troy's sister that died, and Luoxana Troy's daughter that died, of course. And that is the name of Riker and Troy's daughter in Picard, because Troy and Riker named their daughter after Troy's dead sister, Kestra. So anyway,
Interesting.
Middle name is Oil.
So that actually takes me to my next point, which is about Majel Roddenbery, and the fact that she is credited with this story in this episode, that she's also featured in. Well, very good of her to write a story that she's in, which is let's give her credit for being a smart woman on that front. But I want to say that I don't know what her experience is going into Star Trek as an actress. I don't know if she wanted to be an actress growing up or if she ever pursued it, because I don't really know much about her life before Star Trek. But I was pleasantly surprised by how she illuminates the screen when she is on screen. And she's so casually comfortable with herself. And her chemistry with Renee is really good, I think.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to credit her for being so multi-talented, because, she plays the voice of the computer. She's writing. She's obviously, part creator of this entire thing. And she's also does a splendid job as far as on screen. So I just wanted to credit her for her contributions.
Yeah, that was really cool. When I first saw that her name credited there, my first thought was, is that the only episode she's written? Because that's pretty cool. I thought that was really awesome. She had an idea, she talked with the writers, and she put together a story with Renee Echevarria, and also acted with Renee. Actually, we got to take our quick break right now. I'm going to look her up and see if she's written any others, but I feel like that might be the only one. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back on the other side on the Seventh Rule. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello.
We are doing a review of Deep Space Nine Season 4, the Muse. Here are the trivioids that may or may not have made the cutting room floor. There are a lot of good ones that I liked. The first three belong to Mr. Sisko. A Bolian tries to impress a Dabo girl by wearing a toupee. A thief disguises himself as a monk so he can swindle a Frizzell. A woman traveling alone. She's come a long way. Also, Luoxana Troy is pregnant. Onaya can spot a creative soul a galaxy away. I don't buy that. But she is a magical being, so maybe she can. Onaya knew Tavor Kell when he was in exile. The Siskos are planning a 3 days in the Bajoran outback, which was really cool. Odo gives Luoxana Troy Gavilan tea. Some Betazoid babies, you can actually sense their thoughts.
You're getting a little bit of feedback on the on that mic, I think.
Blast. Let's keep going this way then.
All right.
Weird alien.
I can hear you.
Feels Jake's. Never mind. It teaches Jake about magnums. It's what it was. Oh, that's what it was. It's because she was feeling the back of your neck and she was saying, "Hey, this is, I'm feeling your whatever magnum thing." I don't know. It was just weird. Odo and Luoxana Troy play hide and seek, which was a lot of fun. Luoxana's husband doesn't know her name. And orange juice makes Jake pass out. Captain Sisko says spelling is terrible. I also rewound it 3 times. The Luoxana's wife called her Loxwana. So I was like, no wonder she's dumping him. You still don't know my.
Better than Botswana.
That's true. I'll tell you one thing, Beyonce wouldn't have stood for it if you mispronounced her name.
Yeah. You mentioned spotting a creative soul. Mm-hmm. I wrote that down too because I thought that was an interesting line. She did kind of point him out and instantly made that eye contact, and she like almost set her eyes on Jake right away. So there was a mutual, as he was seeing her, she was also seeing him. And so we talk about these betazoids, whatever her alien power is, she does have some kind of alien ability to spot the person that will be eventually her prey, right? Essentially.
Right. And, I was a little tough on it because, my first initial impression was she can't spot an alien, but then, or a creative soul a galaxy away. But then I kind of caught myself. I'm like, well, hang on a second. She turned into magic dust and floated away. So just to say she can't, I kind of actually checked myself. I'm like, wait a minute. It's not like we're talking about a human. Maybe she really can see a creative soul a galaxy away. She's a magical being. We have no idea what she is. And we never really find out. But that's really interesting, is at first we try to judge her based on other people or aliens we've seen. And then we realize she's nothing like them. She's some magical, almost a Q-like being.
Yeah, and I thought that's interesting. They could have went in more to why she selected Jake. She did say that it was the youngest person she'd ever, sucked energy out of. But no, it was kind of a mystery about it. Even when she left, and as Sisko was holding the phaser to her, when she disappeared into the thin air and went into the universe, essentially she herself hit warp speed and disappeared, right? without a ship. And there was no explanation on that. Like, we don't know anything else beyond that point, right? So that's an interesting characteristics. One thing I did pay attention to was the title of Jake's manuscript at the end. I didn't remember it before, but I did look at it this time. Did you look at it and see what it was called?
I did, and I don't remember. I remember it was like one word, wasn't it? What was it?
Yeah, it was called Anselm. Anselm.
Right.
And I thought that was a weird name, so I looked it up, and the closest thing I could find was a Saint Anselm, which was this, famous saint that did so many things in the 11th century.
Is that anything?
So
like
that was
almost fire?
No, I don't think so. I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, I think whatever this Anselm thing, and I remember now seeing that. Yeah, I just thought it must be something that Jake made up, or a character. Maybe it was his autobiographical work that he was talking about, and he was just calling the character Anselm or something. But that's really interesting. So you looked it up and there was nothing. So it was actually something completely made up.
Right. In that spelling, yes. But in another spelling, there is a Anselm, or Anselm, which is a little bit different.
Interesting.
Saint Anselm is actually where I got it from.
And that brings me to another thing, which is when I watched this, there was something that jumped out at me. And our friend Eve England messaged me today and said she won't be able to make it to the free-for-all, but she did have a specific question for you, and it was the same thing that I wanted to bring up. And I think a lot of people are thinking this. She mentioned you had incredible penmanship, and she wanted to know if that was actually your writing on the paper. Because we know that we thought Molly was great at drawing rhinos or whatever, but it turns out that they actually drew for her. So was that, but we saw you writing at least some of it. Was that your writing?
Yes, and I was looking at that too when I was watching it, because that was a time in my life when I focused on having good penmanship, and now I'm so not good at having good penmanship unless I really focus. But one, yes, it was my writing.
Yeah.
I was paying attention to the same thing, because the sheet of paper is not lined, and it's a blank sheet of paper, but yet the spacing was pretty accurate as far as the lines. Now I was reading what was said, and I was trying to remember whether I was just making stuff up and writing it, or if they gave me some text to copy and say, write this down. So I'm not exactly sure about that part.
But the writing was beautiful. I was like, I wrote that in my notes. I was like, your writing is so artistic and so clean. It was almost like that was part of the art, was like you were writing some beautiful, eloquent cursive letters. I was like really impressed by it.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. That's my writing has gone downhill. Let's look at it now. It's really a lot of jibber jabber.
Hold that up. Wait, hold it up again.
There it is. There's.
That's not too bad. It's not too bad, but yeah.
But if I wanted to, I can. I mean, I'm obviously not writing something that I would look at as a manuscript, and so I wrote it in the style that you would write calligraphy or manuscripts or any kind of document that was something that you wanted to keep for posterity. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's why I did write it in that way, and I used that kind of elegant handwriting and didn't just jot. But then I noticed also towards the end of the episode, when I was running out of power and she was really I was on empty, the writing was also different at that point too. And I was wondering if that was also either directed to me or something that I just came up with. That was another thing that I was thinking, was that something that I was asked to do? Was that in the script? Or is that just something that I decided, well, at this point, his energy's down, so he's not going to be writing with the same penmanship and beautiful writing. But there was a change.
Yeah, because at that point, he's tired. He's not feeling well. He's being compelled to write. He's less inspired and fresh and clean and ready to go, and more just like trudging through it at that point. Yeah, that's right. A good note. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a good note, but yeah, that is my handwriting. I kind of noticed it too. I said, "Oh wow, that's how I used to write." Really, because you'd have to make these papers, and this was before the typewriter. I mean, the word processor and the computer came out. When we were growing up, when I was growing up, writing papers, you'd have to be able to have a nice handwriting to handwrite your book reports or whatnot.
Yeah, I remember those days where everything would be nice and neat. And now we just kind of like go, whatever. As long as you can read the first letter or two of each word, you can figure out what it says. Plus now we can find everything.
Yeah, that's when you used to get white out and be mad when you mess up the spelling of a word, or you'd have to go in and do all those correction, or maybe even rewrite the whole thing again.
Yeah, I've ruined a lot of computer screens with whiteout, let me tell you. Let's talk a little bit about Odo and Luoxana Troy. And I did look it up. That is her only writing credit ever, Majel Barrett.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. It was fun to watch them playing hide and seek. You could definitely see how something like that would make Odo very happy. That's all he wants to do, is he wants to practice doing these shapes and he wants to do whatever. And so it must be really cool for him to have a play buddy, for somebody to just kind of say, oh, you're a hawk, you're a falcon, you're hiding over here, you're hiding over there. So it's kind of fun to see him feel so exhilarated by it.
Yeah, what I thought was kind of cool was when he turned his arm into a blanket. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. That's a nice little sweet gesture, something that I didn't think he was even capable of doing. But I guess he is, while still being the humanoid form. He's also half blanket, half a man. So it was pretty amazing. But I thought that the best scene was the scene that Odo had with Loxana in the marriage proposal scene. And when Odo had his monologue essentially defending why he wanted to marry her, and his reasoning was that she's the first person that made him feel like he wasn't alone. And that kind of moved me to tears a little bit. I wrote it down as a little tearjerker here.
Yeah.
And it was a confession. And to me, this was the most, outside of him revealing that he loves Kira.
In the cave.
Yeah. This was the most human I felt Odo was. This is the most he reveals his deepest, darkest inner kind of secret and just lets it out and stands in front of his friends who are at this point are the Deep Space Nine crew and reveals and kind of confesses in front of them, which I thought was a big moment for him to stand in front of his peers and his friends and admit his vulnerability and talk about what he was insecure about and what she gave him meaning, new meaning.
Now, do you think that Odo actually loves Luoxana Troy? Because they gave us the impression that he did, but Luoxana was like, oh, you almost had me convinced. You did such a good job of lying there. Great job. And Odo's kind of like, oh, yeah, lying, right. I don't know. What do you think? Did it seem like they were trying to tell us that he really does care about her like that?
And then, then that's another thing I think this episode is about. I think in the case of those two, with Odo, it's about a different kind of love. And I do believe Odo genuinely loves her because he feels that she is able to penetrate into his psyche and really get to know who he is underneath the facade. She's taken the time to get to know him, ask those questions, irritate him, annoy him. She knows how he feels about it, right? But she still presses that button because she enjoys kind of messing with him. Kind of how Aaron used to like messing with me a lot, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, he would know what buttons to press, but yet he also knew who I was as a person. So he knew, what I would like or dislike in the end of the day. And I believe that this shows us a different kind of love. This is not the romantic love. This is not the, making love, but this is the friendship type of love. And I think when he was revealing his feelings about not feeling alone in the world because of her and because she saw him for what he was, made him realize that he loves her as a friend, as so much so that he's willing to stand up to the plate and do this marriage and confess these feelings in front of people.
Another thing that our friend Dr. Anne-Marie Segal mentioned is this was Majel Roddenbery's final episode in Star Trek. So that is certainly, worthy of note as well. She was definitely a different, or it was Luoxana Troy's last episode, I should say. Majel continued on as the computer's voice, forever through Voyager and all that.
Yes.
But it is interesting to note that they made her, I don't want to say more likable because she's always fun and likable, but she was a more reasonable character this time. Before she was kind of like almost the antagonist to Deanna Troi or the antagonist to Odo, But this time she was like the friend. She was the person that brought out the best in a character. So that's really cool that was her, that she left us on a high note, as far as the character did.
Yeah, when she said she was pregnant, I was looking closely at Odo's face because I was wondering if it was a Maury Povich moment, I'm not the father. But yes, in the beginning, when she first kind of comes on the scene and they're strapped in that turbo lift together, she is a little bit overbearing and like you say, kind of adversarial to Odo's character. He wants nothing to do with her at that moment. And for kind of a good reason, because she's just throwing herself all over him a little bit too much. But in this episode, she comes to him more as a friend and as somebody that she can trust and somebody that she feels can protect her. And she's right. So I think it shows a different side of her. It doesn't show her as that overbearing kind of obnoxious woman. It shows her more as somebody who's wants the best for her kid and wants to raise her child the way she wants to raise her child.
That's another thing I had to kind of catch myself on. Is my first thought was when she said she's pregnant, and she's, I don't know, in her 60s. I mean, and she says it's a miracle. And I'm like, well, it's maybe more than a miracle, but then again, you catch yourself, well, she's a betazoid. Doesn't mean their biology is the same as ours. So that's the beauty of Star Trek and sci-fi, is they could be like, it's a different alien. You cannot apply our logic to them. Maybe they can have babies till they're 60 or 70 or whatever. So that was another thing that, I have to remind myself of, because I don't know if you noticed, but sometimes I can nitpick a little bit.
Yeah, that's a small nitpick, because I mean, even farther into the future, I'm thinking that they're going to extend the window that a woman can have a child. So I'm pretty sure 400 years from now, a woman at 60 having a kid is not going to be a big deal anymore.
That's another great point. But speaking of which,
dun 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 dun.
It is time for the commercial. So let me just put it to you this way. If this lady has gone, this crazy, freaky alien lady has gone and screwed up 100 people's lives, you would think that somebody would write an article about her or tweet about her or give her a bad Yelp review.
Oh, yeah. And that's another thing that I thought was a subject that they touched on really well in this episode as well. She enticed Jake with the idea of an artist wanting to be remembered. Totally. So fame, right? She basically dangled the carrot of fame and immortality over his head. Like, this will be the thing that, will be your legacy. And I think that's an interesting weakness or desire that all of us have in some type of way. We all want to be immortalized for whatever it is. And we're not even sure what it is, most of us, what it would be for. But that's a desire that is kind of it's the easy bait. It's the low-hanging fruit for mankind. We just want to be, if you give somebody the promise of everlasting legacy, then that is the thing that, they can almost do anything for. So I thought that was interesting that she dangled that in front of his, in his face a little bit.
Right. And I feel like I'm not the only one that was waiting for you to say fame. I want to live forever. But you said immortalize, and we're like, just we want to hear, I want to live forever.
Yes.
But
fame, that's what he wanted. Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. They want to live forever. They want to be immortalized. They want to be remembered for something and as something. And she's basically saying, I can give you your dream. You'll die. You'll die. You'll be remembered.
She doesn't mention the die part, really, which actually another thing they kind of left in the air. Well, after she disappears and she's like, all right, well, Jake's done. I'm like, well, does that mean Jake's going to die? Like, they didn't exactly explain that they got him back to normal and they didn't have to worry about him dying. So it wasn't really clear for me. They did say something about psionic energy and the Psionic the Hedgehog. But I wasn't sure. I also want to say really quickly that I love the small interactions between Sisko and Jake. Watching it, for example, when Sisko is inviting Jake to go along and says, "Hey, you coming with us? We're getting ready to leave." And Jake's like, "No, I'm going to stay back. I want to write." Sisko does a thing where he's like, "Well, all right," and then he gets up and he puts his arms out, like, "All right, well, I'm leaving." Like how you would do when it's in a father-son or parent-child relationship, right? It's so subtle, but it was so natural to me. He's like, "All right, well, you don't want to come along." And he gets up and he puts his hands out, like, "Give me a hug," but doesn't say, "Give me a hug." He just puts his arm out, like, "All right, well, I'm leaving."
Yeah.
And of course I go in, give him a hug, and then he gives me a little slap on the face. He's like, "All right, I'm out of here." He gives me a little baby, gives me a baby slap, right? And just those subtle things, they're not scripted. I know it doesn't say Sisko slaps Jake. Sisko slaps Jake goodbye. I know it doesn't say that.
People write for us. It's not, we don't like that.
Exactly. So
sorry, go ahead.
No. So those little things, those are the small things that I look for that make me feel the chemistry and the natural kind of relationship I feel like they have, Sisko and Jake.
Sorry, I jumped on you before you finished. Yeah, it also showed very quickly, because we're just about to finish here. We got 1 minute left. It also showed that Jake, was very subtle. I don't know if you caught it, but it did show that Jake was referencing his new yoga instruction when Sisko was like, "Are you going to come with us?" And he's like, "Oh, namaste." So, no, that was
God,
that was probably Majel that wrote that in.
Oh wow, we're gonna forget that we heard that, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm proud of that
one. No, but
actually said it. You said namaste, like just now when you were saying it. So you get
namaste. All right, that's it, man. Oh, by the way, really quickly, I did want to say the one thing that they did to wrap up the episode with Odo and the Majel character. He found like this loophole, right? And he says, "Well, it says that it's not the father, but it's the husband," right? And that's how they basically get her out of the situation, which is a little bit weak because it doesn't challenge the argument enough, like it should be expanded upon, women's rights and parental rights. But that's the loophole. They find a loophole. They find a way in it. And it's just as quick of a resolution to me as a previous episode we saw, I believe, House of Quark, where he was looking for loopholes to get out of the responsibilities, right? He also did it with his mom, and when his mom was essentially making money as a Ferengi woman and being audited by the tax collectors, and they were looking for loopholes to let her, get away with it. And to me, just from a writing perspective, they have so much opportunity to really get into the weeds of why these things are wrong, and looking for a quick out, like a loophole, is a little bit too convenient.
Yeah, the tough job of the writers, man, walking that line.
And that's my nitpick.
There it is. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to be right back with the free-for-all on the 7th rule. Wait, did we cover everything? Oh, Jake Sisko guesses the IMDb score. I don't know if you want to guess this one.
Oh, that's a sign. 6.9. 69.
Yeah, 5.7. We'll be right back on.
Oh.
It definitely deserved better than that. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Everybody go and give it a better score. Now that we all get it, it's just, I think we all kind of get lost of like, hey, not much happened. We want the Dominion War. We want all this stuff. Because I remember when I first saw it when I was a kid, I was like, whatever, no big deal. But then now that I'm watching it again, it's actually really interesting because we're learning about the characters that we already love. So when you revisit it, these are the episodes I actually like better because we're learning more about the characters, even if it's not much in the overarching story. Anyway.
I could see why. There was a couple moments there where I felt like it was slow at Odo's house just a couple of times. There's some moments. So I get it.
Everybody go fix this problem right now. We'll be right back on the 7th rule.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Free for All. We're joined here today with our fabulous host, Mr. Ryan T. Husk, as usual. We also have the lovely and classy Malissa Longo, who has a beautiful hair day today.
Thank you.
We also have my nizzle, Homer Frizzell,
Yes.
holding it down on Empire State. And of course, you can't forget the great one, Mr. T.J. Jackson-Bey. Woo!
Very nice. Very nice.
Represent.
Remember when Wayne Gretzky was called the Great One? And then when he was kept playing forever, they started calling him the Grade One. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, and that's Cirroc Lofton, ladies and gentlemen, by the way.
And I'm Cirroc Lofton.
Yeah.
So this is the free-for-all. This is the big time. Now, Homer, we know you've got a lot of things to say about this episode. Can you kick us off?
There is a lot to cover. One thing I need to mention is this is the last episode that Majel Barrett is in on screen. And she had the idea for the script itself as well. And of course, she's in it. But it's kind of like this one, it seemed like, ordinarily there's an A and a B. And it seemed like with this one, it's more like there was an A and an A.
Yeah.
I have to agree with you on that, Homer. That's what made it feel not so continuous and really complimentary. It felt like they were telling two separate episodes in the same episode. And that was a little bit of a distraction for me.
Yeah, I have to wonder. I mean, maybe they decided to go that way because she had come up with the story initially. But it is called The Muse, so it is really more, in my opinion, Jake's story. So that should have been the A, but maybe they couldn't get away with having her story be the B.
Well, I feel like that if we had to guess which one was the A, yes, the title gives that part away, but also it opens on Jake and the lady, and it ends on them, if I remember correctly. Doesn't it end with them, or does it end with Odo and Loxana?
No, it ends with Jake and
right.
Sisko.
Yeah, because Sisko is saying, that was in you all along.
Right.
Right. And I love that scene.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep checking on Twitter if Robert and Ira responded yet. We're like instant gratification where we're like, it's been 3 minutes already.
Yeah, TJ, you mentioned that you love the scene, and I did like the scene too, because it was a moment where Sisko is telling Jake that, you have it inside you this whole time. He also says, I really especially like the dad character, and he made a little joke. I like that moment too.
Yeah, I enjoyed it because it showed how unconditionally Ben supports his son Jake, and like I love that about their relationship, that they just have this mutual support type of thing going on in their father-son relationship that I think it's a good model for any father and son.
Yeah, I agree, and you could see that at the moment when Sisko walks into that scene behind Ryan, where Jake is laying kind of in her lap, and Sisko comes out with the phaser, and he's like, "Get up," and she doesn't get up right away, and he gives her one last. I say, "Get up!" Like
I'm not playing.
Yeah, I'm not liking what I see right here, so you need to go ahead and change this little layout that you have, where you're all, he's laying in your bosom, essentially. Y'all got to switch that up right now.
No,
I need to know what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah, guys, is this where we got the bus seat meme?
Yes.
I probably got a lot of outfits similar to that.
Yes.
I think there was another one, but that one definitely fits the bill.
This is
Yeah.
a favorite color mushing together.
It's part of the
I like-
palette. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Palette is the
I'm-
word. Yeah.
I'm heavy on the purples, guys. It's all about the purples for me.
Mhm.
And that's my getting my energy sucked outfit. It matches the vibes coming out of my Magnum or whatever it is.
So, question for you: when that was happening, are, are you ticklish, or were you ticklish? I mean, I would have had a hard time saying, "Hey, whoa, whoa, whoa!" How many takes for some of those scenes? Or you're like, no problem.
I do remember we talked about this earlier, but this woman, Meg Foster, who was also in the movie They Live. So she, if you remember that movie, she's got the piercing eyes and she's like amazing. She was very gentle with me and also aware that I was somewhat uncomfortable by the whole thing. So she did her best to not make me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, there's that scene where she comes around and she's like right next to your ear, and I'm like, wow, I would be uncomfortable there.
Mhm.
You're right.
Yeah, it was a Mike moment.
I almost feel like if somebody's rubbing kind of the back of your neck, it almost seems like the more gentle and the more softly they do it, the more it'll like kind of tickle or feel weird. Like just put some pressure on there. Like
Yeah, like tingling.
they're doing it like super soft. Like, all right, what's going on back there?
A little ticklish back there, yeah. No, I don't remember like it being too bad. It's funny. I'm looking at the outfit right now here, live on Auctioneers. The Jake outfit. But yeah, I don't remember her tickling me or it being too much. Look, it's so funny. Here it is. I'm going to show it to you guys. I think it's the same shirt, but they're auctioning it off here on this particular website.
Oh,
anyways, yeah, I need to go buy that so I can cosplay as myself in this episode.
How much is it?
It says sold, so it's not around anymore.
Oh.
A couple of the items are sold, so
Do you think you could still fit in something you wore when you were 17 or 18? I don't know if I can.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
But I would absolutely put money forth and gather up everybody to do the same to get you to cosplay Jake Sisko at a convention.
Yeah,
That would
It
be
would have to be a replica
hilarious.
form of one of my vote is for the puzzle piece. The outfit that I call the puzzle piece, where it's kind of like got like the little curve down and the line. You know what I'm talking about?
yeah.
Oh.
The green one.
Yeah,
The green. Yeah.
the puzzle. I love the puzzle piece.
I never called it the puzzle piece, but I'll go. I understand what you said.
What did you call it?
The green one.
All right, I'm gonna pull this thing up so I don't have so many confused looks.
Uh-oh.
Hang on one
So
moment.
I've got a Star Trek connection with the actress as well. Another Star Trek connection, because she was in Masters of the Universe as Evil Lynn with Robert Duncan McNeil.
Nice.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Masters of the Universe.
Before she did DS9 with Dolph Lundgren.
Mhm.
Yeah, as He-Man.
Dolph Lundgren
Oh yeah.
was in Star Trek? No.
No, so
Masters of the Universe.
Oh, okay.
yeah, which had Tom Paris before he was Tom Paris.
Right.
I recently watched that.
Nice
I've never
connection.
seen it.
I'll
She
send
was-
it to you if you'd like, Ryan.
She was the first Cagney. Was it Cagney? In Cagney and Lacey?
Whoa.
She was the first Cagney.
I don't know why I'm having such issues. I'm not able to download this one for some reason. Oh, I'll just do it this way then. Here we go.
Yeah, you're right, Homer. I'm looking at the Masters of the Universe. That was see, I didn't remember until I looked it up and saw the poster. Yeah, I remember that movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
that one.
wonderful.
Yeah, the puzzle piece. That's why you call it. Okay.
That,
Okay.
it doesn't look comfortable.
Yeah, this guy right
It's
here.
not. It's not comfortable.
Look at Aaron's like, that does not look comfortable.
No.
he's like, what is this?
No, I don't know. I look like a Lego man.
Anyway, so that's my vote. Everybody can put in their vote for their favorite one.
So many good choices.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
It'd be interesting to hear what the different names are for those outfits too.
Yeah.
Sure, they surely had some nicknames for them.
Yeah, in the seventh rule, kind of said, hey, name your favorite Jake Sisko outfit, and so there, there was one that was like the bus seat. There was the one that I called the puzzle piece. And so, yeah, you just kind of name your favorites. And I do think that's something that that's a game everybody can enjoy.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah, name your favorite. I don't know. I'm looking at this one. I don't know if this is somebody photoshopping or not, because people are so silly.
Wait, hang
Ryan,
on.
you.
There we go.
What is that?
Wow.
I don't know. That's not my outfit, though. There's no way, guys.
It's like I don't remember that one, huh?
I
I don't
remember
remember that one. I don't either. Somebody's photoshopping. Of course, I do remember this one. You guys remember this, right?
Hang on, wait, hold it up. Let's spotlight.
That's not real, guys. Somebody made that up, but it's so funny. They got me with gray hair and everything.
I'm just stuck
All right.
at all these Jake Sisko outfits. Then there's the brown one. Is a great one too.
Yeah, the brown one. If I had to choose a cosplay outfit, it would definitely be one with the vest.
Yeah, well,
yeah, those are my favorites.
Well, how about the one with the thing down the diagonal? The one that
one is
actually wear?
I would wear that. Those kind of a silky shirts. There's another one that I had, but
that one?
Yeah, with the purple sleeve.
Oh no, not that one. He wore it just
one.
recently.
Yeah, the one with the purple sleeve, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think last episode.
Right there.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
See,
no, I'd wear that.
I thought that was the one you were talking about too.
Yeah, but the one that's actually,
Yeah.
to be honest with you now, I would cosplay and be very comfortable wearing Sisko in his casual outfits.
Well, today's episode, when they were going to the Outback, looked really cool. I made a note of that. We didn't get a chance to talk about it, but it looked really cool.
Exactly. Yeah. Sisko had one. He actually had two different African vests in this episode. I'm trying to find one of them, but they have the cloth. And I would wear his outfit pretty much. I'd wear it just regular without even cosplaying.
Wow. Well, Melissa or TJ, do you have any thoughts on this episode? I don't know if you've seen it.
I do. I thought it was a great episode. It's definitely one that I appreciate a lot more now than I did, as a teenager when it first aired. But even then, I thought the emotional play between Odo and Loxana was really good. And something I didn't expect, with Odo's character and his kind of like tunnel vision, one focus on Major Kira as far as romance is concerned. And I appreciate the way that Luoxana kind of diagnosed that as like, look, I get it. You kind of are having a good experience in having someone to take care of, but I want a lot more than that, and and I don't want this thing to end sour. So let's go ahead and part ways in a good place, so that both of us are happy and our friendship is intact. So I thought that was a very interesting diagnosis of Odo. But I thought his performance in the wedding ceremony was spot on. So
I agree with 100%.
Hats off to Renee. Hats off to Renee and to Majel.
Agreed.
Yeah, I was
All of that.
watching this episode and I just literally kind of moved me to tears, that scene, because I felt like Odo really was revealing a lot about himself. And it was a personal thing for him to kind of have that revelation and also stand in front of people that he knows closely and dearly and kind of admit it in front of them that he's had these kinds of thoughts of not fitting in and being alone and nobody knowing who he is or not feeling a part of something, but that she gave him that sense of inclusion. And I really thought that was one of his finest moments on the show in totality so far. One of them, not the only one, but one of them. Mm-hmm.
I agree. I mean, it takes Luoxana Troy to bring Odo out. I mean, remember I don't know if it was the last time or the time before she was there, he was dancing.
Yeah.
And I appreciated the scene in his quarters as well, where, towards the end of the scene, Odo was like, your replicator's not really broken, is it? And she's like, nah. It's like, I'm so sorry. Like I felt like that was the moment where he kind of like switched himself over, like, oh my God, I've been, kind of a jerk this whole time. And I feel bad. Like he actually felt bad for it. I don't think we've seen Odo that way before. And so I really appreciate what Luoxana brings out in Odo. I wish we could have more of that.
Yeah, I thought. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that the word was that Luoxana was supposed to have a bigger role in Deep Space Nine. She's going to be more of a semi-regular character, or somebody that comes back relatively often. And they didn't end up using her nearly as much as supposedly they expected. So that's too bad. It would have been a fun added element there. What were you going to say, Cirroc?
No, I was just going to piggyback off what TJ was saying about the moment. And it reminded me of the moment when he reveals that he loves Kira when she's in the episode Heart of Stone.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
he opens up and we see like the personal side of Odo. We see how he feels, not just how he acts, because he always acts in this really rigid way, and he's militaristic and formal and in his approach, but we don't get to see the sensitive side of him and the sensitivity, except for these very small glimpses into his psyche. And I think the Heart of Stone episode was one of those glimpses where he reveals that he loves Kira. But this particular episode as well, to me, because he, as you said, TJ, kind of understands the kind of love that he has for her, not like more so as a relationship love, but just like as a friendship love. He gets in touch with that feeling and that emotion and expresses it really well in this episode. I thought he opens up a tremendous deal in this episode, and I liked it. And I like to see this side of him.
Looking her up, Luoxana Troy, Majel, Barrett, Roddenbery, she was only in 3 episodes. It's surprising. It felt like it was more than that, but I guess they really did the most out of those 3 episodes. Kind of like Shakar. We only see him in 3 actual episodes, but it feels like he was in a lot more because they always mention him. They always talk about him. And Luoxana is just, such a memorable character that I just looked it up. I was surprised to see only 3 times.
Yes, and Majel was an absolute sweetheart. She was a joy to be around on the set. She was somebody who always reached out to try to bridge a relationship and a friendship with me and other cast members. I remember her always inviting me to her Halloween parties and her Christmas parties. I regret not going, but I always was thankful to get that card in the mail and with the invite. She was just a bundle of joy, really smart, sophisticated woman, knew her business too. And I think a lot of that shows by the fact she's able to write this story, right? She could have easily have just sat back and basically cashed the checks from the hard work that has already been done by Jean and what she's already done. But she still remained active. She still was part of the show. She was on the set a lot, even though she only did 3 episodes. She was on the set a lot. And so was Eugene. She would bring Eugene Roddenbery with her to the set a lot too. So I got a chance to hang out with him when he was younger and my age. So there were a lot of good memories that I can have of her. And when we had the funeral for her at Forest Lawn, a lot of us got together and you got to see how she touched people's lives and impacted them in this same kind of personal friendship level. So she's an amazing woman.
It's really cool.
Here.
It's good to hear that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have ever met her before. I know I have not. Either of you? No. Well, it's too bad.
It's interesting though, and really quickly, that they didn't bring her for the final episode that we did. At the bar when everybody was at the Vic's bar, tuxedoed up. I'm surprised they didn't bring her for that.
That would have been so cool.
Just as the farewell. Yeah.
Melissa, any final thoughts on the episode before we run?
Well, I think you guys have covered it mostly. I agree with everything that's been said here, and I like how Loxana provided Odo a safe space to open up a little, let his guard down a little. So it's great to see. Yeah.
That actor that played Loxana's husband, by the way, anybody else recognize him besides in Star Trek? You guessed it, the Fall Guy.
Oh, that's the Fall Guy?
Well, he was in the Fall. I think Lee Majors. I remember.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Lee Majors is the Fall Guy, but he was in an episode of Fall Guy. I don't know. He's done a ton of stuff, but that was just one that jumped out at me. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about the Fall Guy. Anybody remember that show?
Not too well. That off.
Not the most, but yeah, I remember a little bit though. The Fall Guy and what were some of the other episodes of those that time?
What was the one that one? I would get that one confused with the William Shatner one of that era. What was that? T.J. Hooker. Is that what
T.J. Hooker?
Yeah.
And I think there was the original Equalizer around that time too.
Okay. Wasn't there the $6 Million Man? That's what I would get it confused.
Before, yeah.
Oh, that was before. Okay.
We can rebuild you. We have the technology.
The episode, I think it was a double episode where it was the $6 Million Man and Sasquatch scared me. He's going through this tunnel, this tube thing. Yeah, at least I think he did.
Okay, listen to some of these credits, because this is like a who's who of TV shows from the 80s. Murder, She Wrote, The Fall Guy, Hardcastle and McCormick,
Oh.
Know
Hunter,
that.
Days of Our
Hunter.
Lives,
Hunter, yeah.
Yeah.
Simon and Simon.
Simon and Simon.
I like
Oh my
that one, yeah.
Oh, I don't know this one. Thundar the Barbarian. Fantasy Island.
Hey.
Oh
Buck
my
Rogers
gosh.
in the 25th century. Man, this guy's got some good ones.
Yeah.
Jack.
I think Thundar the Barbarian was animated.
I think so too. Anyway, so those were some of his many Swiss Family Robinson, some of his many credits. Anyway, I guess that's about it. We do want to give a very special thanks to Carmen Shamwell, PJ Tomas, TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri, Bill Victor Arucan,
Arucan.
Yvette Blackmon, Homer Frizzell, Eve England, Marie Segal, Titus Mohler, Tim Baum, Sue Gruner, Robert Hoffman, and Melissa Longo. And of course, very special thanks to the best person in the history of the planet, Mr. Aaron Eisenberg. And on behalf of everybody else, thank you all very much. We'll see you soon. Oh, check out the Voyager documentary. We'll see you next time on, well, the way we say it is always remember the seventh rule.
There you go. There you go.